please tell me more about my favorite Uncle Leo.
Oh, you want to hear more about
Yes,
Leo?
let's hear more. Since we're on this really great, positive run, let's hear more about just lovable Uncle Leo.
Well, there was this one thing.
Oh?
And actually it's probably not that big a deal because it actually doesn't show up in a lot of history books.
Well, you know...
even until the last few years, it didn't even show up in Belgian history books. So it's probably not that big a deal, but I guess we can cover it a little if you want.
Well, the whole tricycle thing already showed me that it was a little bit eccentric, and everyone has, like, their little quirks. So what quirk was this, Mike?
He is a little eccentric, but okay, to understand this wee scandal in Leo's later life, we're actually going to jump to a guy named Edward Dean Morel, if I'm remembering his name correctly. It was mostly you'll see it as E.D. Morel. And he was just kind of an average Joe, actually. Just kind of a normal guy. This stocky guy, great big mustache. And he gets a job with a shipping company as a clerk because he's multilingual.
Okay, cool.
Much like King Leopold II himself. Actually,
polymath, how wonderful.
Interesting factoid that may give you some insight into King Leopold's personality. King Leopold spoke a number of languages, including English, French, German, dabblings in virtually every other European language, except for one that may be important, Flemish.
The language
The
spoken
language
in Belgium?
spoken in Belgium. Never bothered to learn it. Didn't see the point.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry to digress. Mr. Morel gets a job as a clerk with this shipping company. And it's a big shipping company because it is responsible for all of the trade between the Free Congo Republic or whatever. What it kept changing names, but what is the name I'm looking for that it mostly went by at this time? Doesn't matter. Between the Congo and Europe, because it's supposed to be a free trade zone, and they're getting things in and out, and they're getting goods back to Europe, and they're sending stuff in, and everything is going great for everyone.
All these philanthropists.
Yeah. And they're trading good stuff to the natives, and the natives are trading good stuff back. So this shipping company is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Because they're responsible for moving all of that commerce.
Good stuff.
So he is in Belgium, and he is called to sit in on this meeting. And he goes in, and it's a guy from the company in the Congo, and he is screaming at the shipping executives because someone at the shipping company leaked a manifest of a ship's cargo going to the Congo to the media. And he wants to know who, and he wants them fired, and he wants their supervisor fired, and he wants his supervisor fired, and he's just red in the face, furious, screaming about this manifest.
Leaked a manifest. Manifest is just what they're shipping. So you're saying he just let the media know what trade goods they were shipping to the Congo?
Exactly.
Well, that doesn't seem that bad. What?
So Morel, much like yourself, is curious about this. He says, okay, well, it's just supposed to be like trade goods, right? So like cloth and beads and
flour
and wire and rope and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. He's like, all right, well, I should look into this, right? It's probably nothing, but I'll go have a look. So he goes down and looks into the manifest, and he opens it up and says, I think something's wrong. These aren't trade goods. This is all bullets.
All bullets.
This is just a shipment of guns and bullets.
So more like what you would see being shipped to a war zone, not to a happy free trade zone.
Yes. So he says, well, this is really weird. And he actually goes down to the docks
Strange
and is
stuff.
like, is this okay? This is unusual. Let me look into it some more. What else are we sending? And he goes and looks at another manifest, and it's guns and bullets. And he goes and checks another one, and it's guns and bullets.
That
And he
starts
says,
to paint
okay.
a picture.
This, I'm getting some cold chills. What about what we're getting back? Let's look at like the art and the rubber and the ivory and stuff. And he goes and looks into that. And he says, okay, we're actually we're bringing in more than is being reported. Someone is embezzling massive amounts of money.
Oh.
Massive amounts of money.
Does Uncle Leo know?
Well, we'll find out. He goes to his bosses, and they say, we need you to never mention this again. We need you to shut up right now. And he says, I'm not going to do that. They say, we'll increase your salary. And he says, I'm not going to shut up. They say, we'll give you a job as like a partner. You could be one of the... He says, no, I am going to the press with this because everything that I'm seeing indicates you are killing people. And not just Arab slavers, you don't have anything to trade. You're not trading with the locals. I think you are stealing from them. So he runs off and forms his own newspaper.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. No, he goes to a few different newspapers, but what he discovers is that most of them, when he brings them this story, they say, we're not interested. We have a certain relationship with King Leopold II.
He is our king and very lovable.
Not just in Belgium, in France and in England.
Oh,
and in Germany, and in the United States.
Oh, no.
All over the world, when he goes to talk to people, they know somebody who knows somebody who wants them to not run this story.
Oh, everybody shut up.
So he starts his own newspaper and starts reaching out saying, hey, anybody that has proof, I need you to come forward. And one of the first things he finds is going back like 10 years, there was a man named George Washington Williams, Colonel George Washington Williams, who had written an open letter to the king. That it was written as kind of this mocking, like, hey, in case you didn't know, and this is back in the days when they're like building the road. This is before things are even really getting going. He writes a letter. Because he's an American, and he goes there, and he talks to the locals and looks around for himself at things, and he writes an open letter to everybody and says, hey, guess what? You came down here to eliminate slavery. This is all slavery. You have enslaved everyone.
You kicked out the Arab slavers to get rid of competition.
Yes. Couldn't help but look around. Everybody's in chains. You're beating them with hippo hide whips. You're killing huge numbers of people. People are being worked to death, starved to death. This is a nightmare.
And that was back when they were building the road?
That was back when they were building the road.
Oh, no.
But when the story came out, it was fairly quickly dismissed for two reasons. One, Colonel George Washington Williams was not, in fact, a colonel. He had served in the army, but he was not a colonel. He was a con man.
Oh, no.
So he was fairly easy to discredit, but probably the most damning of all was that he was a black guy. He was an American black guy, went over there to be like, it's a free, independent African country that the United States has recognized. I've got to see this. And he shows up, and it's a nightmare. And he's like, I'm out. I've got to tell somebody.
No.
So yeah, he is widely discredited. He ends up getting sick and dying before he can really get anywhere. He reaches out to another guy, Reverend Shepherd, also a black guy living among the natives, who had been trying to get the story out for years, but everybody was like, yeah, but you're like an American Protestant that's not even Anglican. Like, nobody's going to listen to you because you're this weird religious zealot. So if you tell us that like villages are being wiped out, well, you're just being a little bit, you're being a little bit over enthusiastic. You're a religious crazy person. But there was also, this is the coolest guy, Roger Casement.
Roger Casement, okay?
Roger Casement. He is an Irish explorer, and he goes to the Congo as actually as the English consul. And they bring him in and are like, okay, we've got this whole tour set up for you, and you're going to go on a steamboat up the river, and it's going to be so great, and you're going to get to meet all of these chiefs, and they're going to do dances for you. And he says, haha, no. I've brought my own people. I brought my own gear. I'm going off on my own. Get your people out of my way.
Oh, I like him.
I like him a lot.
By the way, I hear that all in a thick Irish accent, which made it even better.
100%.
Yes.
He's also a poet.
Oh,
yeah. No.
he didn't even
100%. Irish poet. He's like, get out of my way. I'm going to look at this myself. And he does. And he discovers that things are way, way worse than anyone was prepared for.
Oh, no.
So it starts with the ivory trade, right? And by trade, I mean they go in, they kidnap people, and then they demand ivory in return for the hostages.
Oh, my.
Okay? This is the opening salvo. Okay? Is they're just working their way through recruiting people for the Força Publique, which is their army. So they're recruiting people to go out and serve with them, and they are gathering up all of the ivory that they possibly can.
Okay.
Right? Already we're being pretty sinister. A lot of people are dying, but we're just getting started.
Oh, no.
It gets much, much worse. One of the things that Leopold... So it's true that he did drive off the Arab slavers. The question is how he did it. Remember how we said he wanted to build schools? 3 great big schools.
Oh, no.
It's child soldiers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's mostly teenagers.
Oh, no.
Teenagers and children, 75% of which die before they have even completed training.
It killed off 75% of them in training?
Or on their way to training. They, the Belgian and generally European, they actually got people from all over. The officers sent out there were given incentives for recruiting. And the cheaper they could get their recruits, the more of a bonus they got. So if they just went and bought their recruits,
oh, no.
say from Arab slavers,
oh, no.
then they get a great big bonus. And then they try to drive the Arab slavers out. The Arab slavers respond with their own slave soldiers. So you have slave soldiers fighting slave soldiers.
Oh. I think I'm going to be sick.
It's not... Actually, buckle up. We're not quite done yet. So, this is in the ivory. And it's in the middle of this that a Polish guy takes a steamboat up the Congo, intending to work for them full time. His name is Józef Theodor Konrad Korzenowski. Forgive my pronunciation. And he goes up the river and he's taking notes the whole time. And his notes are not great. He's like, yeah, today I saw a dude lying in the middle of the road that had been shot in the face. And I stepped off of the road to get some shade, and this copse was full of people that had been worked to such exhaustion they couldn't stand anymore. And he writes all of these things down, and he goes in and he comes back out, and when he comes back out, he says, I am done. I am out of here. And he skitters away. We'll talk about him later.